Bunnyman.
And I'm Crazy Susie.
And we are in the Eyes of Terror.
And we're back at it with the
1972 classic.
Summer is in for a bloodbath series.
And we're back with the 1972 old-time classic, The Invasion of the Blood Farmers.
Yes, it's our number 2 in this lineup.
What, you've never heard of the Invasions of the Blood Farmers? Where have you been?
Exactly. And this film gets a whopping score of 2.9 out of 10 on IMDb.
Yes.
Wow, that's high.
We found this movie on YouTube.
It is a horror film. It is 1 hour and 29 minutes long, and it's a PG film.
Yes.
It came to the U.S. on August the 23rd of 1972. The director is Ed Adlum. He is also one of the writers, along with Ed Kelleher. The cast is Norman Kelly, who plays Dr. Roy Anderson, Tana Hunter, who plays Jenny Anderson, Bruce Detrick, who plays Don Tucker, Paul Craig Jennings, who plays Creton, Jack Newbeck, who plays Egon, Richard Erickson, who plays
Sontag.
Cynthia Fleming, who plays Queen,
And Unhord.
Unhorrid.
Yeah.
Lucy Grant, who plays Miss Greenman. Frank
Ivanhoe.
Ivanhoe, who plays Police Chief
Frank Spencer.
Frank Santano,
Oh, it's Frank Santano.
and many more. The estimated budget for this film was $40,000.
And a case of beer.
We'll get to that part. Sometimes I wished I was joking. And the storyline for the film is somewhere in upstate New York, a young woman is terrorized by a group of rural farmers primarily interested in a harvest of blood.
All right. So what are we drinking?
What are you drinking?
I don't know. What are you drinking?
I'm having H2O with some ice cubes in it. Only
So you're
person
drinking-
envious of that is my dog.
So you're drinking vodka with ice. Okay. I am drinking a Longboard Island Lager from Kanua Brewing Company.
Canoa. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a crisp, spirited, and refreshing brew. It rides the waves and thirst up, baby, because it's coming down the pipe.
I can't say anything
It's-
because that makes me have very.
It's actually not bad. It's very light.
Okay.
What's your opinion on it?
It just smells like fancy Budweiser to me, so I don't want to try it.
It really doesn't have much of a flavor, so.
Okay. I don't know if I wrote down a couple of different things, but I have conflicting information about the budget of this film. But anyway. So the film starts with talking about those who worshipped the gods and gave blood sacrifice. They were druids. They went underground, and now they are back again.
Back again.
Present day, a man is stumbling down the road covered in blood. In the town watering hole, the town men are having a drink.
He looks like he's getting down with his bad self, though. So he's got some funky music going on.
And the men are talking about the disappearance of one of the men's wives. Then talk about one of the men from the town who frequent the bar very regularly. It happens to be the man who is covered in blood and walking down the road.
Good old Jim Carrey.
The men notice him walking toward the bar, and the bartender tells them, "Open the door! Let him in! He's probably thirsty!" I'm sure our viewers really appreciate that commentary.
No, that's what he made. That's the song.
And so they open the door. He stumbles in and collapses onto the floor, dead, and covering the floor in his blood. The men are shocked and do not know what to think. The next scene, a young lady is enjoying time with her boyfriend, who works with her father as a scientist. They have much work to do, so they return to the lab.
Yeah, he's got to get to the bottom of this. Since they've been locked away together for such a long time in the basement with her father. Wink, wink. I guess he's learned a lot from her father. Wink, wink.
You're not right. A man is upset and stares at a picture that appears to be his wife. The woman that appears to be his wife is tied up by a hooded figure, and her blood is being sucked out. Jimmy, the man from the bar, was picked up by the young assistant. He explains he explains it is strange like he exploded. The guy that died, the young scientist explains the death of the man Jimmy. He says it's strange. It's almost as if he just exploded.
Yeah, his blood filled his body, and he exploded because of the blood.
The scientist calls for him to the lab because Jimmy's blood has multiplied. It has reproduced. They are unsure what he was exposed to that would have caused his blood to multiply at such a rate. Back at the bar, the gentleman given the task to clean the blood from the floor says things have gone weird since he saw those lights at the Willowbrook farm. If he had had a camera and had taken a picture, it would have made so much money. The blood is so strange. The more I clean, the bigger it gets. Two strange men sitting at the bar ask for directions to the Willowbrook, and they have to speak with the owners at the Willowbrook farm. They talk to each other about informing Creton and what they have learned.
Not many people know this, but Creton actually has another brother. His name is Crouton.
The men get to Anderson Farm. One of the men looks into the lab window and loses his balance and hits the window. This noise alarms the scientist and his daughter's dog, Buster. If I can get the pages apart. Okay. Buster takes off and chases after the man. The man beats Buster with his walking stick. and he consumes his blood and leaves his body by the water.
Actually, this was a pretty cool transition because two people were making out during it, and then they pull back, and then here's Egon going with the blood all over his face.
Yeah, because that's not disgusting.
No, I was just saying it was a interesting transition.
The next morning, Buster has not returned, and Jenny is upset. The next morning, Buster has not returned, and Jenny is upset. Don comes over. He says there are bloodstains over by the brook. She offers to make him breakfast. Don says after breakfast, we will take a ride in my car and go look for Buster. The doorbell rings. Jenny answers the door, and Buster is hanging there, his body all bloody. She starts crying. Don says, I will kill whoever did this, and tells the scientist to look after Jenny, and he runs out the door to find who did this. He finds only a key. Roy takes the dog to the lab and examines it. The dog is drained of its blood. Only enough remains for one slide to examine under a microscope. And they can see the cells multiplying just as Jimmy's did. They're at a loss for words. A married couple on honeymoon check into a hotel. They get comfortable and prepare for their first night as husband and wife. The husband decides to go take a shower, because that's what all men want to do before they...
Well, I know what gets me in the mood is between the, oh, baby, let's watch The Late Show. But we're married. We don't have to watch The Late Show anymore. So I'm going to go take a shower.
Yeah.
Scrub-a-dub-dub, 6 minutes up.
And the wife is posing very awkwardly on the bed, so she looks perfect when her new husband enters the room.
Okay, but let's talk about the sexy lingerie that she has on.
Yeah, it is so...
Who knew that long johns were sexy?
They're not long johns. They're nude colored, almost like Spanx. Is basically what they are. They're like the lingerie that your granny would have worn, nude colored. Like the least sexy lingerie ever.
Yeah.
Why wear anything? Why not wear granny panties and a brassiere? That's basically what she's wearing.
Oh, baby, talk dirty.
The stranger in town enters the bathroom and beats the man with his walking stick.
But it's funny because she's like, what's taking you so long? I could give good back massages. And just like...
He's getting beat to death.
But he was like, oh, hold on, baby. We have our entire lives to be together.
We have all night. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Later you see the woman lying lifeless on the bed. They actually didn't show her getting harmed. Don and Jenny are talking about what happened to Buster. What kind of person would do that? The strangers transport bodies to their location in order to perform the blood sacrifice. Egon, the main henchman, he is quite enthusiastic about his duties and enjoys shocking the man and draining him of his blood.
Now, before you ask, we do not know where the rest of the Ghostbusters are at this point, but we do know where Egon is.
They're looking for the one who does not respond to the blood, the one who has the strength so that they can resurrect their queen. Don found a key in the woods. He shows it to Roy. He is going to contact a fellow scientist to get him to look at the key. It has a strange alloy he has never seen before.
He said it was also like really heavy, and it was.
Right.
It looked weird, and
He says it's strangely heavy for its size. His friend says he will come look at it. He's in the area. Egon has lost the key in the woods. Santag. It's not Santag.
Creton.
Sontag happens to be an old colleague with Roy, so he plans to retrieve the key. The man whose wife has been held captive, he goes into the woods and the hooded figure attacks him. Don tells Jenny to stay home for a few days. A report went across the radio about the missing couple from the hotel. Don takes Jenny home and tells her to go get some rest. Her father and his doctor friend are there. They talk about the key. He makes it sound like it is just a trinket, and he offers to have it analyzed. He calls it a cheap copy.
Oh, you know that thing that you found, that key? I just got out of a Cracker Jack box. It's nothing.
Jenny leaves with a cookbook and goes over to the neighbor's house. As she walks up, she hears screaming, and the doctor finds her, and he redirects her back home and tells her she should not be out on her own. Her father would worry. The deputy says part of being a voice for the people is being on the radio. The men at the bar gave him a hard time. Then his boss calls and asks why was he not at the station, and he'd better be sober when he got there tomorrow.
He actually did say on the phone, he said the local bar, the annex of the police station. As he had his hat backwards, this guy was not the brightest.
No. Roy talks to the chief, trying to explain his findings. He asks where Buster is. Jenny rushes to her room crying. Egon is outside spying on everyone. Chief says it's all started with the Whitakers. He will go there in the morning. Dr. Kingsley is at the Whitakers' home. He says he was leasing their home. They went on an extended vacation. The doctor placed some green dye on the slide with the blood, and it pointed out the problem. Roy calls and asks for Dr. Kingsley. Egon answered and says, "There's no one here by that name." Doctor takes the phone from him. Roy is puzzled by the phone call. A lady is walking by the brook. Egon is following her. He waits for her to rest atop a rock, and he hits her on the head with his walking stick and then drains her of her blood. Roy calls Kingsley to ask for the key back, and the only guy who answers did a kind of grunting, then hangs up. Kingsley came by to visit Roy to let him know that they threw the key away. It was just garbage. Kingsley asks about his current work. Roy says he has a lab downstairs, and he has an assistant. He offers to show him and gets a phone call. Roy tells him he can go ahead and go downstairs, and he's going to take the call and he'll meet him down there. The man on the phone was Cameron, the scientist, who gave Roy Kingsley's phone number and told him he was working on something new and he was moving his project to Pennsylvania. That's what Cameron says that Kingsley had told him. Kingsley decides his friend knows too much and he needs to go. He sends Egon to his house. Don comes back to town and the house is a mess. He finds a strange object. He goes to the chief and tells him what's going on. and something has happened to them. They test Jenny, and she is the perfect blood host for the sacrifice. The Chief and Don go to the Whitaker's house. Chief gets knocked out. Later, the sacrifice ceremony begins. Don is walking around. He finds them in the middle of the ceremony. Roy tells him the reagent, he gives it to the Queen. And they all drop to the ground. Roy, Don, and Jenny leave. Don and Roy take Jenny home to rest. Don is excited that soon they will be wed. Roy manages to clone Buster for Jenny, which I find extremely ironic because the original Buster was like a sheepdog and the new Buster is like a poodle.
Well, I mean, honestly, from what we saw of Buster, he sort of reminded me a bit of the Luna.
Yeah, Luna is a Great Pyrenees, which they're kind of... They don't really ascend from wolves. They're more along the lineage of like a Mastiff breed. But they kind of resemble like sheepdogs. They're the body style like a sheepdog. They have long, straight, kind of somewhat wavy hair. And that's kind of like what Buster
and it's white.
looked like. And it was white. The only similarity between that dog and the dog she ended up with was the fact that it was white.
Yeah.
It was a smaller dog and it was white. And it had kinky curly hair like a
Well,
bull.
like with the Luna, she's long, and you know...
Luna has a long, stocky body like a sheepdog.
Yeah.
And she pretty much has straight hair, but it does have a little bit of a wave to it. But when it's wet, it is more wavy than when it's dry.
But, I mean, I'm just saying...
But it's not kinky curly like a poodle.
But, like, Buster looked like...
The second Buster looked like a straight
No,
up
no, no,
poodle.
no, no, what I'm saying, the first Buster looked like Luna. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, just a shorter body type.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it looked more along the lines of like a sheepdog than a Mastiff.
Yeah.
But the second one was not anywhere near the same breed. It looked more like a poodle. Not a standard poodle, but a poodle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well,
anyway.
I mean, that it goes along with his whole movie, so... So
that is the extent of the invasion of the blood farmers.
So, what is your final score on it?
My final score is... I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5 just because of the originality of the film. I thought was pretty interesting. You know, these individuals gave so much dedication to this queen that they were willing to kill people and drain their blood to make sure she stayed alive. So
I give it the same. This movie's oddly enjoyable.
I mean, it has a lot of twists and turns and a lot of different things going on all at one time. So it does jump around quite a bit, and it is a little bit difficult to
follow,
keep along with what's going on.
Well, it's not just that, but I mean, it's the the night and day transitions are really weird. There's a lot of weirdness in this movie,
right?
But
the trivia will explain a lot of that.
The poster though is really cool. Like,
it is.
The original poster for this movie is really. I mean, it looks like this movie would be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, this movie is enjoyable. The one downfall of the YouTube video that we watched, it does have subtitles, but they're like in Italian. So
they're not helpful.
But like one of the first things when I first saw watching this movie, it was hilarious to me because you're introduced and there's a guy who's trying to be Vincent Price, but he can't pull off Vincent Price. Did you notice that? Yeah. And then we have a bobbing candle through the credits. It was just, it was the whole from the get go of the movie. Is set off to be. This is going to be a great B-rated movie, and this is, this is one of those ones you could drink with your buddies,
yeah,
and have a good time with. So let's go with the trivia.
So the trivia for this film is really interesting. According to the director, most of the cast members worked for a 6-pack of beer as payment.
I just hope it wasn't Budweiser.
I'm pretty sure it was probably Pabst or something really cheap. The film was shot over 3 weekends with a $24,000 budget. It never made its money back. See, earlier I said 40,000, so there is some contradictory there. Cast members Richard Erickson and Richard Kennedy were so bad at memorizing dialogue that they ended up having to read off cue cards. See, that would be me. I'd be like, what was I supposed to say? Stage actor Norman Kelly, the closest thing that the cast had to a true professional, was hired due to his being friends with co-writer Ed Kelleher. According to director Ed Adlum, the production went through 8.5 bottles of stage blood. It's a lot of blood. It was Jack Braveman who convinced opera singer Alan Charlotte to appear in the movie for a grand total of $25. I'm sorry, if you're an opera singer and you perform at the opera as a professional and someone offers you $25 to perform in a film, that's pretty insulting.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe she was just like, whatever. You know, okay, if I was famous and somebody came to me and was like, we're doing this really bad movie, and the most I could offer you is $25, I'll be like,
It's he, babe. It's
he. Yeah.
Alan Charlotte is a man.
I would have been like, all right, I'll do it. You know, just for like shits and giggles. I mean, that's just me, though. I'll be like, okay. Let's get that done. Where's my $25 at? Do I get a 6-pack, or do I have to buy my own 6-pack with the 25?
Maybe it was just a fun project, or
Yeah.
you know, a different outlet. You know,
Yeah.
a different avenue of the career.
But okay, so some of the other stuff, it's really awkward. There's like date and night, like there's supposed to be nighttime and it's daytime, and
Right.
yeah, it's just, you can't take this movie at all seriously. But can you imagine if you were the actor and they're like, all right, you're like, what's my line? You're like the guy on the phone, you're like, what's my line? You're like, and the guy was like, look at me. Oh yeah. You nailed it, buddy. This is what I imagine. Some guy was like, So let's talk about the blood. The blood was pink.
Yeah, the blood was awkward.
Like, have you ever noticed an old beef?
No, it wasn't pink. It was
Wow.
just like fire engine red blood. It was obviously not real blood. It was fake blood. You know how fake blood is. It's fake blood.
Yeah.
It's like paint.
And then it's like, it was really bubbly, too. It was like
Yeah, it's
thick and
it was foamy.
yeah.
You know, like if you had gack
Yeah.
and you were trying to play with it, you know, you stick your finger in a bucket of gack and you go to pick it up and it just kind of goops and runs out of your fingers. That's what it looked like. It looked like gack.
And then, like, my favorite part was when the professor was like, the blood's overflowing. I'm thinking the entire time, save the cherry drink! Save the cherry, because it looked like it was just, like, somebody overflowed.
Somebody heated up cough syrup and it was overflowing.
No, I was thinking, like...
Who turned the beaker on the cough syrup?
No, I was thinking Kool-Aid, red Kool-Aid. Because it had the same sort of tinge as red Kool-Aid.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
And it was like that wateriness. And I was like, save the cherry drink. And yeah, there's some awkward sounds in this movie too. Mm-hmm. Just really odd. It's a really interesting movie though.
It is. I would put it right up there with let's see. Other films of that time period. I don't know. Deathbed.
Yeah.
and
It's not quite.
Manos.
Well, it's not, but it's not. It's still not quite Troll 2. So
I'm not saying like quality of films. I'm saying as far as like it has
enjoyability,
those weird
yeah.
noises. As far as like the weird noises.
Yeah, because it
and
wasn't
stuff
like
that.
the blood was really weirdly annoyed. Like when they're starting to suck out the blood, it was really weird.
Yeah, it was like. It was that kind of like just sucking noise.
Yeah.
And then the tubing they used is like tubing that you would use not on an IV for a person.
No.
It was like they used IV tubing that you would use for like a horse.
Yeah, and then like the blood wasn't consistent. So the blood, you know what it reminds me of? A slushy machine. Like, have you ever had like been around a slushy machine where it got too low to the bottom, and you're like,
It's what it sounded like you were sucking, like your drink was at the very bottom and you were going. That's what it sounded like.
no, I'm talking about like an actual slushy machine.
Yeah.
And like you get, and like it has that sort of as you're trying to get the last of the slushy because that customer's like, I want my slushy now, and you're like, all right, sir, I'm getting your slushy. You know, and it's like spitting out, and then you see, like, if you watch the tube, it sounds and looks like it's like the last bit of slushy.
Well, like the stuff, the blood is going through the tube, but it's not like you can see
Consistent.
all the blood is, the whole tube is red. It would be like an inch of the tube is red, then there's a big gap where it's not. And then
Yeah.
an inch of the tube is red, and there's a big gap where it's not. It was just like, it was funky how it looked, but yeah.
And then there was like, and then the one guy that was getting his blood, he was like squirming. I was like, get down with your bad self. Down.
Like he's flopping around like a fish, like, no, you can't have my blood. Ah. He's having a fit.
Yeah.
You don't want his blood.
It's so.
He took a shot of heroin before he came over here.
And the thing was, it was like, so I guess Egon was an irresponsible person. So they gave one of the more irresponsible, bloodthirsty people the key to the kingdom.
Right. Makes total sense.
But why not give it to like Crouton? Why not give it to Crouton that is just sitting there chilling most of the day, sweet talking that princess, that half dead queen. He's like poetically waxing the Sleeping Beauty queen.
Well, he was the one that was in charge of everything.
Yeah, but why wouldn't?
So he had to trust the idiots to go get these people. Would you trust the one that had some sense, or the one that would just go,
Yeah, true.
The one that just goes, was probably wanking off in the corner somewhere. When he wasn't going,
No, he was going in the corner too. It just went.
So, I mean, those are your options. The one that selfishly bonks people on the head and then sucks their blood and might actually drag somebody home after he bonks them on the head when he doesn't steal their blood, or the one that just goes,
and that walking stick. So I think that it had to have like a really like every time you see him knock somebody out, it like is a one-time knockout. So that walking stick must have like that type of metal. The key was.
What
just
got me was the walking stick looked like it was
a dowel rod.
made from the thinnest,
Dowel rodding that Lowe's
flimsiest
has.
metal ever. And it looked like it just had like a little plastic cap at the end of it.
It looked like somebody went to Lowe's, right, and went into they got a dowel rod, and then they went into the knob section, you know, for the cabinets. Like, that one looks good, and then repainted that knob.
Yeah.
Yeah. To a red. And then my question is, how did they get into that hotel room?
I don't know.
And she sort of irritated me because it's like, you're supposed to carry me over the threshold. I thought that was only for like homes and like new homes and stuff, not hotel rooms.
I don't know.
But one of my favorite lines that he said was like, I told you, baby, this was like a high class hotel. There's a TV in here.
He was like, calm down, baby. We got the whole night. We got the rest of our lives. Little did he know.
Yeah.
Chuckle, chuckle.
Chuckle, chuckle. So that's the end of... So, obviously, we recommend this one, don't we?
It's pretty good.
Yeah. This one is a one if you're just...
If you want to have a head scratcher, this is a pretty good one.
Well, not even a head scratcher, just something that's irrelevant and just...
It's
just
pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a good, just like... You had a draining day type thing. You're just like, I really don't want to think. So... We do apologize if the thunder is in the background because we're having a storm, obviously.
Yep.
So... Is that the end of...
Well, that's all for that one.
Alright, bye. See you later.